Unbound belonging. I see a world where every young person across these lands feels like they belong. Feels like they belong in their communities, in their bodies, running for office, getting their PhD, becoming a cultural ambassador, a land defender, an artist, a healer, a teacher, a creator, an astronaut, becoming exactly who they're meant to be. Imagine the world I see, even just for a moment. Tansei Kiwao, hello to you all. My name is Kiana Alexander, and I am a proud urban Métis woman with homelands rooted in Fort Chipewyan, northern Alberta, from the Fraser family on my mother's side, and of mixed European ancestry from the Alexander family on my father's side. I've had the privilege to grow up here on the unceded, ancestral, and traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, and for that, I am deeply, deeply grateful. Being born into and growing up in an urban setting, disconnected from the homelands of my Métis family, disconnected from what it meant to be Indigenous, from my language, from my culture, disconnected from navigating the spaces of feeling too white in most settings and feeling too native in others, navigating what it meant to belong nowhere. Who are you when you belong nowhere? Where do you go and who do you become? The homelands I grew up in were urban. The language I know how to speak is English. I don't know how to bead or weave or follow every single one of my traditional protocols, but I'm learning. How could I possibly be Indigenous? Who do I think I am? Growing up, I spent a lot of time navigating what my identity meant, angry, confused, and frustrated, using my words as weapons against my native worker, angry that I had to be taken out of class to a small room in the basement to make dream catchers with only 3 other kids, ashamed at attending my native graduation, angry that I didn't feel like I was a reflection of anyone around me, angry that I didn't know who I was. I used to think that the way to solve this problem for young people coming after me was for us to collectively support young people in understanding and navigating who they are, where they come from, in the best way we and they know how. I had the privilege of my mother relearning, renavigating, remembering the lineage of our Fraser family, the stories of our ancestors, tracing the tragic legacy of residential schools in the North and the disease of disconnection to language, culture, and peoplehood that my family experienced as a result. On paper, I know who I am. I could tell you the names, the languages, the cultures, the traditions, and the people, their stories, their lives of those that came before me. But still, I don't belong. I didn't grow up in the North, and I don't belong to that community, but I don't belong to this one either. It was then that I realized it's not about having all the answers to one singular part of what forms an identity, especially with the systemic, intentional, and tactical attempts at destroying links to culture, identity, and peoplehood that allowed for the formation of this country. Understanding identity for me is not enough. I long for a place where we are rural, urban, and everything in between. I long for a place where our collective values and protocols are upheld and respected. I long to be understood. I long for connection. And I long to belong. I've had the privilege of spending the past few years with young people from all across BC and beyond. This opportunity has allowed me to be one-on-one with young people, in groups with young people, and in circle with young people, to be in relationship and to learn. In this one-on-one that I will never forget, this young woman looked at me and said, "Kiana, it's simple. Belonging is feeling like you matter. I want to live in a place where I know I matter." This young woman lives in a country of Tina Fontaine, Colton Boushie, and thousands of other devastatingly similar stories. This young woman lives in a country where youth suicide rates are 7 times the national average, and for Inuit youth at 11 times the national average. This young woman lives in a country where she is 5 times more likely to die of violence than any other young woman her age. Now, this young woman also lives in a place where living in reciprocity with the land and resilience is woven into her blood. This young woman lives in a place where Indigenous youth are the youngest, fastest growing demographic. And this young woman lives with ancestral wisdoms, connections, and knowledges that are beyond most people's wildest imaginations. This young woman's belonging runs through her veins. This young woman lives in this place, and I live in this place. This young woman story is reflected in all of us in some way. Connection is in our DNA. It is as fundamental as the air we breathe and the water we drink. And as Indigenous peoples, connection is our DNA. How dare we, as peoples, all of us, no matter who you are and where you come from, not do every single thing in our power every single day to ensure that all young people know that they matter and that they belong. We belong only when no piece of ourselves, our stories, and our lived experiences live in exile. We belong when we are free, which in this time in the world is a truly radical act. Anita Sanchez shares the prophecy of the 7th generation that says, when the 7th generation of young people come, the great winter will end. For these young people with old spirits will lead and make change. A reuniting with each other and Mother Earth will happen. This 7th generation of young people does things differently. We don't have time to get caught up in the things that would, could, and try to divide us. We are more creative, collaborative, and innovative, unbound by the status quo than ever before. And we are facing the state of the planet like humanity has never seen. We understand that Mother Earth is calling to beauty, creativity, and wisdom in each and every one of us with immense urgency. Now, my question for you is, how will we cultivate and nurture the spaces for these young people with old spirits to lead and make change? How will we create a space for reuniting with each other and Mother Earth? And how will we create a world where we all belong without bounds? What is your role? Unbound belonging. I see a world where every young person across these lands feels like they belong. In their communities, in their bodies, in their schools, running for office, getting their PhD, becoming a cultural ambassador, a land defender, an artist, a healer, a teacher, a creator, becoming exactly who they're meant to be. Imagine the world I see, even just for a moment. The time is now to cultivate nations where we all belong without bounds. In fact, our world depends on it. Thank you. Thank you.